I'd like to introduce to you someone I hope that you already know. Suzy McLaughlin is a longtime member here, and this year serves as chair of our Christian Advocacy Committee. And if you perhaps have entered the building from the south, you have been through the south lobby this morning, and you've seen that our beautiful exhibit of the creation tapestries has gone down, and we've got a very different art exhibit up there now that's on human trafficking. And I invite you during the next month to spend some time in that space with that art. And we want to talk about that this morning, Suzy. When we talk about human trafficking, what are we talking about, and who are the people who are victims of human trafficking?
Well, human trafficking is basically modern-day slavery. It is the relationship where one person is in control of the other, completely in control, through violence, through the threat of violence, through psychological coercion. They've taken away their free will, and they've taken away their ability to move freely. It can affect adults, youth, or children, male or female. Usually the ones who are the most vulnerable are runaways, those who might be in foster care, immigrants, those who are impoverished. Perhaps they're lonely, they've been addicted to drugs or to alcohol. It's a variety that seem to be the ones who fall prey to human trafficking.
So in this exhibit, we have a lot of examples of this, including this theme of isolation that we'll talk about as well. But before we get to that and really dig into what's there, let's think for a moment about why should we as Christians care about human trafficking? Why is this something that we have here in our building to remind us of?
Well, it is an unusual subject, I agree, to maybe have present in the church, but I think as a church that we need to be aware of human trafficking. For one reason, we are all children of God, and we want others to be able to have freedom to live a life with opportunities, feel loved, feel accepted. There's also the reason that if you become more aware of all that is involved in human trafficking, you don't know when you might run across someone who actually might be suffering from that and you just didn't realize it. They could be in your neighborhood, they could be in the grocery store with you, they could be in your school or your workplace. There was an example that our artist gave us of a young girl in Georgetown who was a frequent runaway. And her mother just thought that she was sleeping on a couch somewhere because she did that quite often. But then she apparently was attending school. But through the police and friends, they discovered that she wasn't sleeping on a friend's couch, but she was actually being trafficked every single night and being taken to school in the morning. She'd go through the day, and then the trafficker would pick her up after school, and she would be back on the streets. So you never know where it is. And to be aware of that, and to know what some of the signs are so that you can, if you notice it, to say something. And they encourage you to report it to law enforcement, not try to intervene yourself, but report what you might see because you could actually save a life.
And I would remind you that in your order of worship this morning, there are a couple of infographics that have a lot more information about this and the statistics, which really are staggering to comprehend. Well, so Suzy, you actually know the artist who's put this show together, and tell us, who is Amie King?
Amie King is a young woman who I knew when I was a member of First Baptist Church, Austin. She is a mother of two, and her background is drama and art. And she was a friend of hers had a young sister who was caught up in sex trafficking, and she was aware of all that was going on when they were trying to help her, to find her, to help her restore her life and get back on track and not live in that environment. And so through that, one day, sitting in traffic, Amie thought of something to write, and she wrote a piece called Sold, and it is on the wall next to a photograph that's on exhibit down there. And through that, she just realized how isolated someone could feel and how lonely that you might feel when you're in that situation. And with her artist background, she put out the call to other artists, and from around the world, people were interested in trying to do some type of art for that, and so this exhibit came about because of that.
So this is an unusual type of interactive exhibit, different than many of the art exhibits we've had here through the years. What advice would you have for us on how to interact with these pieces and gain some understanding through them?
One way is, first of all, to have a really open mind when you're looking at the pieces and to try to put yourself in the same environment that maybe the artist was trying to comprehend when they put together the piece. There is an isolation room that Amie built, and it's the big white box that you see down there. It has a black curtain. You're invited to crawl into it. It has a low opening. You're invited to crawl in and sit. There are a couple of flashlights in there, and to imagine yourself completely isolated from family, from friends. Maybe you are out doing your work each day, but you can't tell anybody. You're afraid, and you just don't know where your life is going to go. You think it's at the end. And some of the artists have written things next to their pieces of art which depict what they're trying to express. So to just keep an open mind and try to understand the emotion that the people who are trafficked might go through.
Well, Suzy, we thank you, and we thank the Christian Advocacy Committee for your work in educating us and helping us understand how we can be the hands and feet of Christ to the world around us.